How will Australia break you? Break you enough so you just want to piss off out of the country? I've been thinking about this a lot. Do you stay? Do you go? I reckon there's 3 ways that Australia can break you. The first one is financially. This is the most obvious one. Housing costs, cost of living, price of everything, inflation, etc. It'll get to a tipping point, not the TV show. It'll get to a tipping point that you simply can't afford to live here anymore. And it perplexes me as to why so many people are moving here. Apparently in the last 6 months, 250,000 people have made Australia home. Labor government, record high immigration, and New South Wales apparently built 8,000 houses, right? That's only part of the supply and demand equation. Interest rates, rent, prices, everything like that. I was talking with a bloke at work and he's moved from Victoria to Brisbane as part of a relocation package. He said, I'm screwed. He said, the house prices in Brisbane just keep going up while my Victorian property goes down, right? The old seesaw effect. I left Victoria 4 years ago and I came here and I actually couldn't believe the prices of property. They were very reasonable. In 4 years, a simple 4 years, that equation's been broken. Apparently Brisbane has the most expensive apartments in Australia. I think a lot of that's propped up by the Gold Coast, right? But whether that's included or not. Financially, Australia can break you. One of my regular commentators, Richard, said, lives in Tassie, screwed, right? He's been in and out of work, get to a certain age in life, like us, and you just go, well, I can't afford to live here. What do they call it? Asset rich, cash poor. Pardon me. If you're on the age pension and you don't own your own home and you don't have a tidy amount of super set aside, you're broken. That's how Australia can break you. You just simply can't afford to live here. And it is the tipping point, like the country you're born to or the country you're used to. And the older you get, the harder it is to change as well. When you're young, you're smashing it in Bali, surfing at Kuta Beach, travelling around Cambodia, Siem Reap, whatever you're doing, you think, life's great. Then, you come back home, saving up your cash pile, working hard, and, maybe mum and dad give you a leg up and you get a country block somewhere, and it used to be the young guys build your own house, right? With all the building codes and so much bureaucracy, yeah, can you actually do that? I don't know. I remember I had this reno done. I bought this house in Victoria, and it was a tragedy. Really, there was an ensuite addition that was falling. It looked like the Leaning Tower of Pisa. It'd come away. There was like about that much of a gap between the main structure and the ensuite. It was like falling into the ground, and the reason for it was that there was no downpipes to take the water away. So basically the whole block was being saturated with rain, and the foundations were soggy. Sometimes I think to myself, what the hell were you doing? why did I do that, right? I engaged this awesome master builder. He just knew everything. He was just like friggin' amazing, right? Really awesome guy. And he rebuilt the ensuite. He demolished it and rebuilt it. And then he said the building inspector came, and it was time when COVID supply chain issues, and he couldn't get roof trusses. And he built it to specification. And then this building inspector came and said, no, you need to add like 3 times the amount of wood. And he's going, why? Oh, building code, right? And then he's like, the master builder's going, you know, F this, F that, F him, right? He said it's strong enough. It's only holding up bloody Colorbond sheeting. Like, so he had to nail on another $200-300 worth of wood to simulate a truss, because this one bureaucratic guy said, yeah, you can't do it. In Thailand, you build your own house, no one gives a shit, right? If it falls down on your head, it's your problem, right? Anyway, that's the first way Australia can break you. The second way is lifestyle, and it is related to the first issue. Overdevelopment, making the environment really unpleasant. I really enjoy living where I am, but I'm not in Brisbane. So, and I chose this on purpose. Different parts of Queensland are really, really overdeveloped. Different parts of Sydney, different parts of every capital city are really overdeveloped. I remember I went to Adelaide quite a while ago, in about 2015, 2016, something like that. Lovely city, not overdeveloped at all. Adelaide's really pleasant. I don't know how it's changed in the last 10 years. For my part, I won't holiday in the Gold Coast anymore. It's just way too chockers. Overdeveloped, unpleasant. Heaps of people like it. That's their choice, right? It's not a bad place, but you know, the beach is fantastic. Can be windy at times, like friggin' windy, but you know, just the environment around you. Apparently, southeast Queensland is the fastest growing region in Australia. So, I don't know. And part of this is maybe me getting old, being old. The older you get, the more you remember the way things were. When I was a kid and a teenager, you know, like, I think in the 1970s, the population of Australia was 10 million people. There just weren't the people around. My dad used to say, you could walk out in one job. There was a massive labour shortage. That's another way Australia can break if you can't get a job, which relates to financial security, right? He said you walk out of one job in the morning, you walk into another one in the afternoon. Like, everyone had a permanent vacancy sign up, people wanted. These days it's incredibly challenging and a lot of micro markets. So that's the lifestyle. You know, like we've got the 4B, the caravanning, you know, the bush. That's friggin' amazing, right? But, you know, a large part of enjoyment of life is if you can get somebody else to cook you a meal that tastes half chop. Because you get sick of your own cooking in the end. I really struggle with that aspect of modern Australia. The food choices, the food availability, the food quality is completely down the gurgler. Unless you go to a high-end restaurant and you pay $300 for a meal for 4 people, local Chinese meal, it's around here anyway, it's absolutely bloody awful. And it's expensive. So I don't bother anymore. Get a burger and chips down the local rugby league club. Yeah, it's good. That's subsidised by the pokies. So, Club meals are pretty good, usually, when they got heaps of pokies. The last and most important way of how Australia can break you is not you, but your kids. If your kids can't get ahead, what's the fucking point of this country, right? It's not that people aren't proud to call themselves Australians. It's not that, right? Well, that's their choice, right? I am proud to be Australian, and I love Australia. It's not that. It's when does Australia cease to be Australia? That tipping point, how? And that exact point is when your kids can't get ahead. There's a guy who's on social media, very famous apparently. He's said Australia has a war against wealth, a war against aspiration, a war against achievement. Australia's always had the tall poppy syndrome, right? You get the tall poppies, you cut them off, we all have to be poor and the same, right? There's always been that kind of thing going on. And people who don't like that, who are talented, they usually go to the States or something and become millionaires, work for Zuck, you know, or Elon. But if you're average Aussie and you're struggling, the battler, and you have your kids, everyone deserves a chance to have a family and have their kids. And your kids, no matter how hard they try, can't buy their own home, can't save a dime, taxed to death, can't buy shares because they're going to be taxed to death on them. Well, that's got to be the tipping point when you say Australia's broken and we'll all piss off somewhere because we've had enough.